What if the silence in your life isn't abandonment, but divine preparation? Have you ever felt everything falling apart, only to realize you're being put together for something greater? What if the resistance you're facing is heaven's confirmation that you're closer than ever to breakthrough? These aren't just poetic reflections, they're signs. Signs that God is shifting the atmosphere around a woman to ready her for something remarkable. When heaven is about to move, it often begins with subtle but undeniable patterns. Understanding these signs doesn't just prepare you to receive, it prepares you to carry. In this transformed version, we explore how divine disruption becomes destiny, how the wilderness becomes a womb for greatness, and how your breakthrough might already be in motion. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in a woman's life when heaven begins to whisper. The natural world may see her as ordinary, but in the spiritual realm, she is being positioned for something extraordinary. God never blesses by accident. When He prepares to release something significant, something that will shift the atmosphere, the woman He chooses will begin to feel the weight of divine preparation. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. First, she will find herself alone, not because she is unloved, but because she is being set apart. Isolation is not rejection, it is refinement. God removes the noise so that she can hear the whisper. He cuts off distractions not to punish her, but to protect the seed of what He is about to birth in her life. This kind of separation is sacred. This isn't by chance. It's divine orchestration at work. It is a cocoon before the emergence of purpose. Then a strange restlessness will arise in her soul. She will begin to sense that where she is no longer fits who she is becoming. What used to satisfy her now seems shallow. The job, the people, the routine, none of it feels right anymore. This is not confusion. This is transition. It is the labor pain of destiny. Something is shifting and her spirit knows it before her mind can process it. Suddenly doors begin to close, not because she did something wrong, but because God is redirecting her. She prays, she plans, and yet the path seems blocked. But this is divine strategy. Closed doors are often more merciful than open ones because God sees the future. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. When He shuts one way, it is because He is preserving her for the right one. Don't mourn the door. Thank Him for the protection. In this divine disruption, something else awakens, a hunger, a deep thirst for more of God. She begins to crave His word. She seeks His presence, not out of duty, but desperation. She's not chasing platforms or applause. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. She's chasing alignment. The more she draws near, the more heaven opens up insight and revelation. She's no longer entertained by surface things. She is being recalibrated for kingdom things. But with this increase in hunger comes an increase in warfare. Suddenly, all hell seems to rise against her. Unexpected attacks, inner doubts, betrayal, exhaustion. This craving is a signal that heaven is stirring something new within her. The enemy fights what he fears, and what he fears most is a woman who knows her calling and refuses to bow. The enemy sees the oil being poured, and he panics. But resistance is proof of relevance. The storm is confirmation. And then God begins to speak, not just once, but over and over through dreams, through others, through scripture, through that still small voice in her soul. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. He confirms what she has felt but couldn't explain. She starts to see patterns, signs, symbols, all pointing to something bigger than her. She knows that something is about to break loose, and she holds on to the word like her life depends on it, because it does. Finally, a boldness rises within her, a fire, a knowing. Even when she doesn't have the full picture, she has peace. Even in the unknown, she walks with assurance. This is not pride. It is power under control, the kind of boldness that comes from surrender. The clarity she once begged for begins to come in waves. Her posture changes, her voice shifts, her presence carries weight because heaven has backed her. Woman of purpose. If you are seeing these signs, don't run, don't doubt, don't shrink. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. Something big is coming. And when God blesses, He does not bless halfway. He blesses exceedingly abundantly, above all you can ask or imagine. When God is preparing to do something extraordinary in a woman's life, the first sign is often isolation. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. This is not a punishment. It is a divine strategy. God begins to separate her not just physically from certain people and places, but spiritually from the noise and distractions that have diluted her purpose. Suddenly, she finds herself losing interest in conversations that once excited her. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. The friends she used to run to no longer understand her silence. The places she once found comfort in feel foreign and empty. What she is experiencing is not loneliness. It is separation for transformation. God always isolates before He elevates. He removed Moses from the palace before giving him the assignment. He took Joseph through the prison before placing him in the palace. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. He hid David in the wilderness before he ever sat on the throne. This divine pattern repeats because transformation requires time alone with God. In this season, He becomes her only source. Not her friends, not her career, not her titles, but Him alone. She learns to lean into His voice like never before. She starts to discern His presence in the quiet moments. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. And it is there that she begins to understand who she really is. In isolation, distractions are removed, and clarity is restored. God reveals things to her about herself that she never saw when she was surrounded, that He begins to strip her of the false layers she wore to survive. Layers of approval, fear, insecurity, and comparison. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. And as those layers fall away, she is introduced to the woman she was always meant to be. This is a sacred season. Painful, yes, confusing often, but it is holy. Because before God gives her something big, He must first make sure she can carry it. And for that, He needs her undivided attention. When a woman is on the verge of a divine shift, He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. God doesn't start with the spotlight. He begins with silence. He calls her away quietly, gently, but intentionally. People start to drift. Conversations dry up. Invitations stop coming. And though she may try to hold on, she feels something pushing her into solitude. It's not abandonment. It's alignment. God removes her from the crowd because what He's about to deposit in her cannot be exposed to noise. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. The deeper the calling, the greater the isolation. He's not trying to hurt her. He's trying to protect what He's planting within her. In this season, she begins to feel misunderstood. Even those closest to her can't seem to connect the way they used to. It's like she's speaking a language no one else understands. That's because God is downloading a new language of purpose, identity, and calling into her spirit. Her appetite shifts. She's no longer satisfied with surface-level relationships or empty conversations. Her soul is craving something deeper, something eternal. And though she may feel like she's losing everything, what she's really gaining is herself. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. This is the wilderness that produces wisdom, the secret place where heaven begins to reintroduce her to herself. She cries more, prays harder, listens longer, and in that quiet place, God reveals hidden wounds, breaks old patterns, and heals her identity. It's in isolation that her ears open, her spirit sharpens, and her faith deepens. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. This is the kind of silence that births power. The world may not see her, but heaven is watching closely. She is being carved, refined, and stretched. This is not the end. It's the preparation for a new beginning before God brings her into rooms of influence and blessing. He brings her into a season where the only voice she follows is His. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. When God is preparing to bless a woman with something big, one of the clearest signs is that doors begin to close unexpectedly. Opportunities that once seemed promising suddenly dry up. Relationships that felt secure start falling apart. Plans she was so sure about begin to unravel with no warning. To the natural eye, it may seem like failure or rejection, but in the realm of the Spirit, it's redirection. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. God is not punishing her. He is preserving her. He is shutting doors not to deprive her, but to deliver her from settling for less than what He has ordained. This season can be confusing, because the doors that close are often the ones she prayed for. But God knows the full picture. He sees what lies behind every opportunity. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. And He knows when something that looks like a blessing could actually become a burden. When doors shut abruptly, it forces her to pause, to reevaluate, and to lean into God's voice more than her own desires. This is not a sign that she is off course. It's proof that God is actively guiding her steps. God never closes a door without purpose. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. Sometimes He shuts it to develop her character, sometimes to delay her for perfect timing, and other times to completely root her path. Either way, every closed door is an invitation to trust Him more deeply. In this place, she learns that her destiny is not in the hands of men, but in the hands of her Creator. Closed doors aren't denials. They are divine delays with deeper design. The job she lost, the connection that ended, the opportunity that slipped away. They were never the source. They were simply tools. And when they no longer serve His purpose, He removes them. Because when He is preparing to open a door that no one can shut, He first closes everyone that could limit her vision. Closed doors aren't denials. They are divine delays with deeper design. When God is about to release something extraordinary in a woman's life, He doesn't just shift her surroundings. He awakens something deep within her spirit. A new hunger for His presence ignites. It's not manufactured or forced. It rises up suddenly, consuming her in a way that even she cannot explain. The things that used to entertain her no longer satisfy. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. The conversations that once held her attention now feel empty. There's a divine pull, strong, undeniable, drawing her into the secret place. She craves stillness, longs for worship, and finds herself searching the scriptures not out of obligation, but desperation. This hunger is not ordinary. It is a divine invitation. This craving is a signal that heaven is stirring something new within her. It is the Spirit of God stirring her to come closer, to go deeper, to walk beyond the veil. And the more she responds, the more He reveals. In this season, she begins to discern the difference between religion and relationship. She no longer chases routine. She chases encounter. It is in this pursuit that she begins to hear God more clearly, sense Him more intimately, and see herself more accurately. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. Her prayer life begins to shift. She's no longer praying just for things. She's praying for alignment, for understanding, for purity of heart. Her tears become her language. Her worship becomes her weapon. She's not looking for platform. She's seeking presence. This kind of hunger cannot be taught. It must be birthed by God Himself. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. And when it comes, it rearranges everything. This is how God prepares her for what's next. Before the blessing comes, He ensures she is anchored in Him, not in outcomes. He deepens her roots so that when the weight of the blessing arrives, it doesn't crush her, it crowns her. Because what's coming isn't just big, it's divine. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. And only a heart that longs for Him will be able to carry it. When a woman is on the edge of a divine breakthrough, the atmosphere around her begins to shift, and so does the resistance. Unusual opposition and spiritual warfare begin to increase. Not because she is weak, but because she is becoming dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. The enemy doesn't fight what doesn't threaten him. But when a woman starts moving into alignment with heaven's agenda, when her identity begins to rise, when her hunger for God deepens and her distractions are stripped away, hell takes notice, and it responds with warfare designed to distract, discourage, and derail her. Attacks come from unexpected places. People she trusted begin to turn. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. Emotions become unpredictable. Thoughts she thought she had conquered resurface with intensity. Her sleep is disturbed. Her peace feels attacked. Her progress feels slowed. But none of this is random. It's strategic. It is the enemy sensing that something powerful is about to be birthed through her life. And like Pharaoh trying to destroy the deliverer before Moses was grown, the enemy launches an assault before the manifestation arrives. But here's the truth. Spiritual warfare is not a sign of defeat. It is often the greatest confirmation that she is exactly where she needs to be. The pressure is proof of purpose. The intensity is a sign of the impact she's about to make. And though the battle may rage around her, she is not fighting alone. Heaven has already gone before her. The angels have been assigned. The Spirit of God within her is greater than anything that comes against her. This warfare is not to destroy her. It is to develop her. It is strengthening her discernment, sharpening her prayer life, anchoring her faith, and preparing her for the weight of the glory she's about to carry. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. What the enemy meant for harm, God is using for promotion. Because a woman who overcomes the fire cannot be stopped when she steps into the promise. When God is preparing to release something significant into a woman's life, He doesn't leave her without guidance. He begins to send prophetic confirmation, not just once, but repeatedly through unexpected people, through sermons, through dreams, through scriptures that seem to leap off the page. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. God begins to echo His intentions until her spirit can no longer deny it. These confirmations are not coincidences. They are divine signals. It is God's way of saying, "I'm speaking, and I want you to pay attention." She might be in a season of uncertainty, questioning the direction of her life, unsure if what she feels in her heart is truly from God. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. Then suddenly, someone speaks a word that mirrors her private prayers. A message finds her at the exact moment she needs it. A dream aligns with the vision she's been hiding inside. This repetition is not random, it is intentional. God knows that when the weight of destiny is heavy, the mind can be clouded by fear. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. And so He speaks over and over to bring clarity and courage. Each confirmation becomes a thread in the tapestry of her faith. The more she hears it, the more her confidence grows. She begins to recognize the voice behind the voice. It's not the person speaking. It's God using vessels to remind her that she's not making this up. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. He's revealing pieces of the picture before He unveils the full masterpiece. And with each word, each sign, each prompting, her spirit begins to align more boldly with His will. These prophetic confirmations are not to be idolized, but they are to be acknowledged. They are breadcrumbs leading her into deeper obedience. God doesn't confirm what doesn't carry purpose. So when the signs keep showing up, when the word keeps being repeated, when the message won't leave her alone, she must know that heaven is announcing her next chapter before it begins. When God is about to bless a woman with something big, there comes a moment when everything within her begins to align with heaven's intention. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. And suddenly, an unshakable boldness and clarity emerges. It doesn't come from external validation. It doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It rises from a place deep within her spirit, where fear has been replaced by revelation. She may still be walking through uncertainty, but something inside her is certain. She doesn't have all the answers, but she has the assurance, and that assurance gives birth to a quiet strength that cannot be shaken. This boldness is not arrogance, it is authority. It is the result of submission, surrender, and silence before God. It is what happens when a woman has wrestled in prayer, wept in worship, and warred in the Spirit, and come out on the other side with vision. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. She starts to speak differently, walk differently, and make decisions with conviction. She no longer second-guesses her worth or her calling. The opinions of others lose their power because she has heard the voice of her Father, and that voice has settled her soul. With this clarity comes focus. Distractions lose their grip. She stops chasing what isn't aligned. She stops explaining herself to people who are never assigned to understand her. She begins to build, create, move, and act because she finally sees what God has been showing her all along. She no longer waits for perfect conditions. She steps out in faith because she knows the ground beneath her feet this is the moment where heaven's preparation meets her obedience. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. Her courage isn't loud, but it's unmovable. Her decisions are no longer based on fear but on purpose. And once a woman reaches this place, no storm, no critic, no delay can stop what God is about to release through her life. So when a woman begins to see these signs, divine isolation, closed doors, a burning hunger for God's presence, increased warfare, prophetic confirmations, unusual boldness, and unshakable clarity, He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. She must understand, heaven is announcing her next season. These are not coincidences. They are divine markers that she is being positioned for something far greater than she imagined. God is not just preparing a blessing for her. He is preparing her for the blessing. And when He blesses, He does not bless halfway. He blesses in full, pressed down, shaken together, running over. This is the time to stay focused. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. This is the time to protect her spirit, guard her mind, and walk closely with the One who called her. Because what's coming will require her to carry influence, favor, wisdom, and responsibility. It will demand maturity, discernment, and strength. And God in His mercy is making, let every sign be a reminder. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. She is not forgotten, overlooked, or delayed. She is becoming the woman who can handle what God is about to release. Becoming the vessel through which heaven will move. And when the time is right, when the process has done its work, when her heart is aligned with His, God will reveal what He's been working on all along, and it will be big. He never moves without purpose, and every act carries eternal weight. Not for her glory, but not for her comfort, but for His kingdom. Because when God blesses a woman, it's never just about her. It's about everyone she will touch, lift, and lead. As a result, the world better get ready, because she's not waiting for permission. She's been chosen, and her time is near. This isn't by chance. It's divine orchestration at work.